welcome to the first in a series of special talks we're having with creatives, brought to you by the Croydon Creative Enterprise Zone and the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. Today we're talking to K&B Design, finding out about their story and how they got started in the creative industries. So, ladies, it's a real pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for having us.
Tell us about K&B Design. How did you get started? How did you meet? How did it begin?
So we've been friends since primary school, about 8 years old. We've always been crafty, creatively.
Yeah.
I always have sleepovers, we'd all be making things, that kind of thing, typical stuff. We went to college together doing graphic design. I did photography and Kirsty did fine art as well. We also did business together, which in hindsight we should have paid more attention in. And then we went to uni together doing graphic design. And yeah, we got an opportunity with our part-time jobs to do a mural, which we'd never done before, never even thought about really.
No.
Because our degrees were very digitally based.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like After Effects and stuff like that. But anyway, we decided to go for this mural job and loved it. Yes. Our tutors even helped us, like gave us the idea of using a projector and things like that. We had no idea what we was doing, but yeah, it really started like a passion thing for us, and our final projects at uni were about super graphics and murals, and started our interest really.
Yeah. From there we really homed in on wanting to do it. It sparked something that we wanted to continue. So.
Brilliant. And just for the benefit of the people who are watching, K and B?
Yeah.
Who's K and who is B, and what does that mean?
I'm Kay, I'm Kirsty.
I'm B, I'm Brittany. What isn't the most creative name?
No, we pondered it for so long as well. We came up with all these weird
quirky
creative names.
But K&B Design just stuck. Because we're still looking to do graphic design in our business, so we did want design in there.
Yeah. We wanted to keep it pretty broad and not narrow ourselves down to anything. So.
Can you tell us about your journey into the world of mural design? You said you got started as a result of some support from your university, but how did things progress from there?
Yeah, we did some work for family and friends and like in our own homes to kind of really understand how to produce a mural, because I think the designing part came naturally to us as graphic designers. Yeah. I think it was all over Instagram at the time. I think there was a global London Mural Festival that was going on, and it was just all over the news as well.
Yeah.
But just trying to produce as many murals as possible really got us started.
Yeah.
And helped obviously build a portfolio.
Yeah, the technical side is definitely, I think, what needed work in the first few.
Rather than, I suppose, the design side.
Yeah, we done lots of a lot smaller than what we work on now. And we began using acrylic paint, which we quickly realised is probably not the best. But so yeah, we took a lot of.
It's kind of learning on the job. There's no like set rules or how to paint a mural. So
yeah.
Okay, brilliant. How did your upbringing and your background influence your career path, do you think?
Yeah, I think we've always been creative people.
Definitely.
Like, I remember like Mum would do collages with me and my sister, and we'd like be getting rice and random stuff and making a scene.
Yeah. My brother is he's 3 years older than us, and he began spray painting when he was 15 years old. So he's a graffiti writer, and all legally even. And yeah, we quite often went down the seawall wearing paints and saw all the other artwork as well, which I think had a little bit of a...
We even, my bedroom when I was 15, we painted a tree on my wall together, which is quite funny looking back, but yeah.
So you mentioned the sea wall. Tell us about where you're from.
So we're from Grays in Thurrock, Essex. Yeah. we were always out and about, whether we were going up Southend or down the seawall to see all the spray paint and all that.
Yeah, Grays is quite an industrial area. There's not much creative jobs in Grays. A lot of people go into London for that work, but
yeah, we recently took part in the Southend City Jam, which is a local mural festival to us. I think has become the largest mural festival in Europe. So yeah, all graffiti writers, mural artists, they all come down we look forward to taking part in that every year. So.
Okay, the City Jam you mentioned there. So again, you're putting murals, paint on walls. What really inspired you to pursue murals specifically over the other sort of design elements that you've been learning about in university and that you've done over the years?
Yeah, I think murals make a big impact to public spaces and private spaces, and I think the impact that they can make with colour is really quite amazing.
Yeah, I also think the accessibility to it as well. We didn't need no massive equipment. We have a projector, but weren't printers and things like that. It was nothing too technical. It was just a matter of learning to do it and building that skill.
Brilliant. Were there any pivotal moments or challenges early on that made you question whether this path was possible for you?
I think finding clients is probably the hardest part of our job, and was at the start, especially when you have no experience. It is really doing things for free in a sense and building a portfolio to then
you're kind of working
get
out
clientele.
Is this something people will pay for that will be enough to make this?
And then being confident in your own work to then charge what it is worth to then create a business out of it.
Sorry.
No, come on.
How did you overcome any doubts that you may have had early on in your careers when you started the business?
When we started our business, we was in a part-time job, which really gave us the financial safety to be able to do what we do. So I think that obviously inevitably helped us.
It was almost a hobby to start off with, a hobby with a bit of an aim.
There was no pressure, it was quite relaxed. So
we had one big job that kind of allowed us to make the jump and go full time.
Keep the money away, so if we didn't have anything for a few months, that was it, and then we'd have to go back to our part-time jobs.
If anything failed, but that definitely allowed us to be a little bit more flexible. We graduated during COVID, so the prospect of getting a design job was a little bit low. No one was really hiring, so it kind of took the pressure off a little bit.
Our careers were almost on pause in a sense.
We kind of just had to sit with where we were at and make the most of what we could. So.
Okay, great. So I want to talk now about your creative process and your inspirations. Can you walk us through your creative process when you're designing a mural?
Yeah, so a lot of the times we get given a brief, especially if it's for an office. A lot of companies are like, oh, we'd like our colours, our values. But if there is no brief, then we like to give a mood board so that we can see what kind of style they're after, because we do quite different styles. But we take a lot of inspiration from nature and the people that work there, or if it's for a public space, the people, what they
places,
do, the place, the history.
But there's a lot of artists that we look up to. We follow them on Instagram and stuff. A lot of Flower, Hixie and some type artists that we really love their work. So we are definitely inspired by some of that. But we still haven't narrowed down an exact style, so we're pretty fluid with what we design.
Almost like graphic designers, we design for a brief in a sense rather than as artists.
A lot of mural artists kind of repeat the same style, the same subjects and stuff like that, and that's obviously how they build their image. But we haven't done that yet, so we do a variety of stuff.
Okay, I found it really interesting there when you said about how if you're working with a client, you take inspiration from the people themselves. How does that work? What does that process look like?
We've often had small focus groups with the company, and they ask around the company, what would you like to see on the wall? What do you think of when you think of this company? And
there was one office mural, we got everyone to write down a word of what they thought of the office, and we put that on the mural subtly, and obviously that can translate into imagery.
We're often quite vague with our research. We take it from different, lots of different aspects, and I think that normally ends up with quite an authentic design.
Okay, so how do you balance client expectations with your creative vision, especially when working on large public projects or large corporate projects?
I think speaking with the client beforehand and getting a real idea of what they're after at the start obviously helps, because if we're going in there with all these crazy ideas, then inevitably we are going to be disappointed. So yeah, knowing what they want from the start, and then if they do change their minds later on in the project, obviously that would be more disappointing for us then.
Yeah. We also have a lot of projects. We do have our passion projects, and we'll have projects that, okay, we need to do this to sort of suit the brief and fit what the client wants. So we kind of realise early on whether it's a project where we can go all out and do what we want, or whether we are kind of quite...
Or likewise, if it isn't for us. We don't do like realism, so if they're after that, then...
Yeah, we shut that down quite quick a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So your murals are large-scale works of art. How do you approach the technical and logistical challenges of working on such a big canvas? You're presented with a large wall, you've got to fill it with paint, and you've got to fill it with a meaningful image. How do you go about addressing that from a technical and logistical perspective?
So I think scaling up the artwork is probably one of the hardest things.
Yeah, you've got to get that right straight away.
Yeah, there's multiple ways that people do that. When we're inside, we like to use a projector. But yeah, we sometimes freehand things, but there's like the doodle grid method where you spray or paint like random
symbols and
letters, and then you mock up the design digitally onto the photo of the doodle grid, and that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah. But yeah, logistically, we've kind of used a bit of everything. We've used scaffolding, we've used lifts.
Going to site to view.
Yeah, is definitely important.
Yeah, site
and really,
visits.
Overcoming any issues that there might be early on.
Even unloading, because we have quite a lot of stuff that can be quite heavy. Yeah. Knowing where you have to get things from. And that's a bit of a challenge, and knowing then what lifts you can have. Yeah,
but oftentimes if we can reach every part of the wall and we've taken our time to sketch it and take a time doing that part of the project, then it tends to go pretty smoothly.
Is it normally just the two of you when you work on a project, or do you bring in assistance or extra help when you need it?
Yeah, if there's a real time crunch, we'll bring in, we've got a friend Alice, and sometimes my sisters come and help.
Yeah.
But most of the time,
it is just us. Yeah.
Okay, great. So moving on now, I want to talk a little bit about your business strategy and the growth that you've had in the last few years. You know, starting a design company, especially from humble beginnings and straight out of university, can obviously be challenging. What were the biggest hurdles you faced in building your business, and how did you overcome them?
I think, honestly, was being not very business-minded was probably one of our biggest hurdles. Like we said, we'd done business in college, but we both left early a lot of the time to go to the graphics classroom. Yeah, I think getting started in the first place with all the technical stuff was a big thing for us.
I think hurdles with mural industry is finding the right walls, the right client.
Yeah.
It's challenging to keep that up and keep it consistent.
Yeah.
A lot of summers we've been quite busy, but then in the winter months we do get quiet.
Yeah, there's not many return clients once you've done a project for someone, unless they're a massive company, they're not likely to come back for a while anyway. So
we do want to expand our business to be able to do things in the studios, for example, more graphic design work, selling prints, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's quite hard to expand that when we are painting.
Busy.
Yeah. So we almost need to do that when we're busy, so that when we're quiet, it's ready.
Yeah.
But we're working on it.
So going into your first big jobs, how did you go about getting your first big clients or projects? And have you got any tips for creatives looking to break into the industry or a similar industry?
We was on a website at the time called Book an Artist, which takes 20% commission. It's not the same as what it used to be, but it did really help us get
our first few
big
projects.
jobs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when you type in mural artists on Google, that is like book an artist is one of the first
Things that comes up. Yeah.
So, I guess like marketing yourself. Like now we put money into our own website, so that comes up on Google.
Yeah, and I think we were trying to get any work that we could, whether it was free or whether it was pretty low paying.
Yeah.
We wanted to paint walls, we needed to paint walls to get the experience. So that was really important to us, and to build our portfolio and prove that we could do the work.
All the murals we do, we sign. So at the end of the day, that is good advert for us, especially as they're so large.
Yeah.
In terms of marketing, what were you using when you first got started? Before you had like a full operation behind you, how did you market your work, or how did you get the word out about what you were doing?
I think it was on Instagram and Facebook mostly then. Book an artist is free, so that was a good thing to get into.
Yeah, LinkedIn, a little bit of LinkedIn.
But really just outreaching people, just cold emailing.
Yeah, we used to spend hours and hours sending emails to schools, companies. We would even like put together proposals if we really wanted to work with someone. Put together a little proposal, and they often were ignored, but some people got back to us, and it
just makes you feel like you're proactive, which is good.
And was there a different approach, for example, for when you were going after a corporate client as to when you might be approaching a school, and what were those differences?
Great question.
I think when working with a school, I think they care about having the children involved a lot, and it being like a fun experience for the children as well, for them to see it.
Yeah.
And like, I think, showing your personality is a bit more, I suppose, intriguing.
doable,
Whereas corporate, they want to see like more your design portfolio, and that you can do the work.
Yeah, and kind of get in and out with little fuss.
So, I don't know.
Okay, so what strategies have helped you grow your business while staying true to your creative values?
I think using our spare time when we're not painting quite wisely to design what we want to design, without the brief, without the restrictions. We often now go down the seawall ourselves and paint if we've got the time. Just designing for us as opposed to a client.
Yeah, it definitely makes us develop our own skills as well, which we're still improving all the time.
Yeah.
And then we have content to share.
Yeah. We will always have the need to create content and make ourselves look busy even if we're not.
Yeah.
I think is quite important as well. So.
And do you schedule that? Do you ensure that there's, for example, there's always something new from K&B every week or every month or every few weeks? How does that work?
We often have a bit of a backlog of projects. When we're busy, we don't get the time to get the content out. So once we're quiet again, it's like we're kind of catching up and getting it all out there. And
yeah, we like to schedule in like some like creative days that are just quite for us, but also like clients can come to us and be like, oh, we want a mural in 2 weeks, and then like things change. It's quite
everything gets dropped.
We like to be ready to go for that if it comes up.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. In an increasingly digital world, you mentioned Instagram, but how else do you use social media or other platforms to push your work?
We use Instagram, we use TikTok. I think the content also varies a little bit between them. We try not to post the same stuff. TikTok likes very different content to what Instagram does.
I suppose we use Instagram just to show like our work, our portfolio and our process.
Yeah.
And TikTok
is a little bit more of like the behind the scenes, a bit more of a story.
Yeah, we haven't yet, we're still definitely not new, but we
haven't mastered it.
No. And we really want to show our personalities and stuff on Instagram but we haven't yet. So it's something we want to do, and we're in the process of filming our first YouTube video. Yeah. Because we want to get into that. I think there's quite a gap in the market for female creatives, especially in the UK, doing what we do. So
on YouTube. Yeah, we was searching for mural artists, and there's like the main two that come up and then no one else. So it was like, let's give it a go. We've got some interesting projects coming up, so we'll film them. And
So you mentioned something really interesting there. You think on YouTube particularly there's a lack of female mural artists. Why do you think that is?
I would say it's because there's not very many, but I feel like Instagram doesn't reflect that. On Instagram there's a massive community of female artists. A lot of them are in America. There's not loads over here.
I think painting murals can be quite stressful.
Yes.
So that the fact that then you have to film at the same time just adds another layer.
We're lucky in the sense there's two of us, that one of us can be.
Yeah.
I mean, we often are both painting, but we get the moment where it's like, oh, I'll quickly film that, or
Brilliant. Murals are often in public spaces and subject to various public opinions. Everybody's got an opinion. How do you handle criticism or feedback from the public?
I think feedback and criticism is important, and inevitably we are creating murals for the public, so they need to enjoy it. But we don't let it bother us in a sense. Like,
a lot of the time our designs are approved by who we're painting it for anyway. We don't often sort of paint a mural in a public place that hasn't been approved or anything like that. So that gives us a slight bit of confidence that it's what they want. And we often do the community work beforehand. So
it has a reason.
Yeah, it's not just at people all the time.
I think where there's two of us as well, it's not as personal.
Yeah.
We can
definitely
take the hits together.
Yeah. But I can't say we've had loads of criticism in the past.
It's more on social media, if anything.
Yeah.
But,
we try and keep things quite neutral. There's no political or controversial statements or anything like that. So, yeah, we try and keep it just nice.
Nice.
Has there ever been a project that didn't turn out as expected? And if so, how did you handle it and what lessons did you take away?
I think sometimes it's more like the time it takes longer than expected, or like things go wrong. Like we was doing a small building in a park, and we didn't realise that they used anti-vandal paint before, and this was after we just started. So then we ended up having to sand our background colour and our sketch off to get rid of the anti-vandal paint.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like unforeseen things can happen, but we just like to make sure we have the time to put into it to fix.
Yeah, a lot of our blips are at the beginning, so we can kind of go, right, cancel that day. That day was void.
We'll have to come in earlier, we'll work later, we'll make sure. We don't really like to leave a job that we're not happy with, so we'll get it.
Yeah.
Get it to where it needs to be.
Even if it means having to put extra time.
Yeah. That's our loss. Yeah, that's how we see it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, I want to get on to passing on some advice for aspiring creatives or people who are slightly earlier in their creative journey. Mm-hmm. For creatives from humble beginnings, pursuing an artistic career can seem daunting. For many of us creatives out there, family and friends, in a good-natured way, try to maybe dissuade us from following a creative path because they don't believe there's any money in it or it can be successful. What advice would you give to those starting out, especially if they feel limited by their background or the environment that they're from?
I think definitely starting with a part-time job that doesn't consume you is very important.
Yeah, that definitely helped us.
Yeah, so it's not too much pressure. It's definitely more relaxed if obviously you have
the business fail or if your work isn't taking off.
But equally, that's very hard to do when you have a job that then is tiring.
Yeah, it's hard to balance.
It's very hard to balance, but
I think networking is really important, and that's something that I wish we'd taken a little bit more serious in the early days. And even now, to be fair, if we had more time for meeting more people.
Yeah, connections is a really good way to start getting your name out there.
Yeah.
And then, just keep going with the Instagram, creating more content for the website and things like that.
Yeah, if you feel like it's not getting the recognition it deserves and all sort of the things that can upset you a bit, You've just got to
keep going,
power through, as sometimes it is disheartening, but it will get there.
Okay, and what's one piece of advice you wish you had received when you were first starting out in your career?
I think that nobody knows what they're doing. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Everyone's just winging it.
Yes.
We didn't have a clue.
No. We still don't sometimes. There's always a
Yeah.
scenario that we're like, oh, this has never happened before.
Yeah.
Or,
There's no one right way of doing things. So
yeah.
I think we were so worried that we was doing the wrong thing before, but things.
A little bit fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
A professional front.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't got a clue what you're doing.
Where do you see the future of mural art going, and what role do you think emerging artists will play in shaping it?
We've seen a lot recently, people adding like a digital element to their murals. Like you get your phone out, you scan it, and then it will almost come to life with like video and stuff. I think that's quite cool. So that's one way murals are heading. I think advertisement, especially in London, it's getting
a lot of bigger brands are definitely picking up on it. They're realising the recognition it gets while it's being painted and the excitement it creates.
It's almost more about the process than the final thing as well.
Yeah. A lot of time, walls are hired by a company and it might only be up a week, but the 2 weeks that it was being painted has sparked a lot of excitement, and a lot of people are going, oh, what's going up there? And that's the marketing.
Okay, brilliant. Final thoughts. What's the most rewarding aspect of your work?
I think, obviously, when people finally see it complete, we're like, and they're like, oh wow, that looks so good. We're like, oh, that. So
it was worth it.
Public opinion is
it is important.
rewarding.
Yeah.
And then when we spend a week or 2 weeks on a mural and we finally step back and look at our design and think, oh yeah, we've done that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the results, the impact it can have on a space. If you're in a whitewashed office, it can really be impactful. So it is quite rewarding when you get the professional photos back from an interior designer and you realise our work has made quite a big impact in that space. That's our favourite part.
Brilliant. And is there a place where people can find your work? Tell us where we can find you online or on the internet or in real life, or where we can find you working, where we can find examples of your work.
So our Instagram is KirstenBrit and our website is kmbdesign.uk.
Yeah.
We've got
TikTok is Murals by Kirsten Britt, I believe.
Yeah, and I think our only piece that's up in central London at the moment is on Shoreditch High Street.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now we're going to open it up to our invited guests who are going to ask Kirsty and Brittany some questions of their own.
Hiya, great talk. My question is regarding like time management. So how would you say that you balance like your work, passion projects, family, stuff like that, your hobbies and stuff like that? Considering your creative, it was once a hobby before it became work.
I feel like we definitely haven't mastered it.
No.
We're very, not all or nothing, but we'll be really busy when we're painting, very little free time, we work long days and stuff like that. When we're back in the studio, we're a little bit more fluid with our time. So.
Yeah, which I guess gives us the balance in that sense.
Yeah.
So we're not crazy all the time.
Yeah.
But we are lucky in the sense there's two of us.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I think it's worth writing down what's most important for you.
Yeah, what you want to achieve.
And if it is like, I'm going to be really busy with my career for this long, and so family has a little bit, just a month, but then, I don't know.
Some things do have to give sometimes, but it's nice to kind of work out your own balance. And I do remember actually doing a thing at uni where they said, this is how many hours you have, like you need to break them down into percentages and what you want to spend on each.
I think as long as you're aware and don't become too consumed, and that you're still looking after yourself. So,
which probably feels like we don't half the time when we're painting, but
yeah.
Hi. You mentioned that one project can take up to 1-2 weeks. How was your biggest project in mural terms, and how long took for you to complete, for effectively painting and the whole project?
I suppose obviously our projects have kind of two halves. We have the design phase where we're working with the client and designing things like that. We've recently just confirmed a project for 2026, which is about to start. So the design phase for that is going to be ongoing sort of until it'll probably get approved within the year or something. But design phases can completely differ. It depends how soon someone's got in contact with us. Sometimes we're rushing it through in a week or so, and other times we've got months of revisions and things like that. In terms of painting,
our shortest is probably a day or two.
Yeah.
And that's just for maybe a logo or something quite simple.
Yeah.
But I think our longest has been 2 weeks, so we don't normally do weekends, so 10 days.
10 days of painting, yeah. We do often do quite long days, so what that would be in 9 to 5 hours, I'm not sure, but...
Yeah, we've recently started to use spray paint more, which definitely makes us quicker.
Yeah.
So yeah, depending on what medium we're using, definitely helps as well.
A lot of the time when we're using wall paint, masonry paint, they need 2 or 3 coats. So it feels like the first time you're like, oh, we're getting somewhere, this is quite quick. And then you realise you have to do it another 2 times. It's like, oh.
Especially if it's orange or yellow.
Hiya. So for someone starting off, what kind of budget would they need, and what kind of maybe tools and stuff like that could they purchase to start?
Paintbrushes is a good start.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy.
No.
Just big paintbrushes to small ones.
Yeah. And just kind of depends what form of paint.
Yeah.
Spray paint can be more expensive.
Yes. And it's hard to judge when you're starting out how much you'll need.
Yeah.
I think brush is a good way to start.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easier to control. And
yeah, and you can start building up your colours and then have have them ready to go for the next job, so you don't have to keep buying paint for every job.
Yeah, you can mix.
Mix your own colours would be a good way to start. Yeah, so I don't know, in terms of budget, it's not that expensive really.
No. Obviously we design digitally, so our technology and design software is definitely not cheap, but there's no saying people can't design on paper and replicate that on the wall. So it really is, if you wanted to start, you can start small and build from there.
Can I just ask, what software do you use to do your design work?
It's a mix between Procreate on iPad and Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator. I think, that's our graphic design background.
Yeah, with that.
Yeah.
Hello, thank you, lovely presentation. So you've mentioned that business was not your strong point, but however you're now running a business, so you're having to negotiate and chase up payments and all of those difficult things that comes with running a business. And you do this by yourself, or do you have a business coach, outsourced accountancy? How do you manage all of that?
Pretty much all ourselves, apart from an accountant that does our end of year accounts and that kind of thing. We are a limited company, so he sends out wage slips and that kind of thing. Yeah. That was so that we could get on the property ladder ourselves, really, and have extra cover for being a company. Yeah. But Kirsty does
else,
the finances.
I kind of do the finances day to day. Brittany does the website and keeps all that going.
I suppose I do more proposal type things, any inquiries. Yeah. So we do try to split things. I think if we was both doing finances, that'd be a bit hectic.
Yeah, a bit messy, yeah.
Kirsty's better at the...
Don't know about that.
Kirsty's better at the maths side of things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we do have family and friends around us that we could ask, and if we do have any questions.
We've never had a business plan all from the start,
Yeah.
no business plan. Like
we
we
do
kind
have
of knew where we wanted to
each
get.
year, at the start of each year, we kind of have goals and like how are we going to get to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are, in our local area, I think there are business support, what's it called, resources that we could access if we do need that. I think, especially as women, when we want to start families, like that's something that we're going to need a lot of advice with. Maternity leave, that side of things.
Yeah.
Because we have no idea about it right now. But yeah.
Hello ladies, that was an amazing presentation. You mentioned about lack of females in the mural artists area. Do you think that's because there's a lack of marketing or a lack of awareness?
I feel like there's lacking women in the street art side of things. I think there's more women that do more, what's the word?
Smaller scale. Like
Smaller stuff for homes.
residential. Yeah.
Yeah, residential projects. So I guess that could then be marketing, that the men are all more of a, what's that? I can't speak. They're more on show. They're more in the papers, the male artists.
All the big projects.
But there are some more female artists that are coming through, like Sophie Mess and Hixie.
Yeah.
Zoe Power are some of like the free leading artists in the field.
Yeah. I think, people assume painting the side of a building, that should probably be down to a man on a lift. But yeah, now it's us.
So just to add to that, there is an artist that we've worked with in Croydon called Carleen De Souza. She's an amazing graffiti artist. But in terms of guerrilla marketing, have you ever looked at your business and that side of things, or been approached by brands to do some guerrilla marketing style, like Banksy style?
We haven't actually, no. Someone did advise us to do that for our own business, like as our own marketing, to just do that, but
no,
we was a bit scared to do that.
No, we haven't really taken on that many marketing projects, apart from we did do a TikTok advert with EE and Samsung a couple of years ago. That was kind of our project that allowed us to go full time, and but besides that, we haven't done any massive marketing projects.
Yeah, that's it.
No, yeah.
Okay, great. Next question, please.
Is there someone like in your life who inspired you to start painting murals, or was it someone else on like Instagram or something?
My aunt is an artist. She's always wanted to pursue her art career, but she kind of got caught up with her family and was a school teacher. And she always used to do like little embroidery things, painting on walls. Like her kitchen had like grapes in it and stuff. I suppose maybe that could have been like subconsciously always there.
Yeah.
But other than that, not really, family-wise.
My cousin did do, he was is a graphic designer and was working with a lot of big brands. And I think that was always quite cool to me, that my cousin was working with like these big brands. It was almost like he was a celebrity, but obviously he wasn't. He was just the designer behind the scenes. But I think that always was quite cool to me.
Do you think having somebody in your sphere who was doing this made it seem possible to you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Next question, please. Thank you.
Okay. How do you maintain having like a good, or advice on having good relationship when you're working together, especially where you may not be in a position where you may not be on the same page, and how would you navigate through that?
We've never really had any issues.
No.
But I think just being quite open and communicating well,
Yeah.
I think is important.
And I feel like we also we'll kind of have a lead on a project.
Yeah.
So if you're leading the project, I'll not give you more rein, but
Yeah.
I'm more open to what you want to do.
One of us is normally like leading and one's following. But so that comes from like the start. So one person will be more in communication with the client, designing for the client, and then we'll often ask for advice when we're like, oh, what do you think of this before I send it? And maybe this or that, and that's always good.
Yeah.
Because it is a bit daunting when you just want to send something off. So, what do you think? But then equally, it's good to have them final bit of support when we're painting.
Yeah.
So
I think being friends outside of work as well is
still doing stuff that isn't business related obviously helps.
Yeah.
I
don't know how we do it.
Some people think we're mad.
No, we do everything have done everything together. Obviously school, college, we're friends outside of work, we've played netball together. So it was a bit like when we tell people, they're like, oh my goodness.
Do you think it was that foundation that you had of being friends for so many years that made it possible for you to be working together, in close proximity to each other for so long and not let it become an issue?
I think so,
I think we're just very comfortable in all situations together. We'll get through it somehow, whether it's a big project or whatever. So,
Great. Next question, please.
I've worked with lots of small business owners, and I've met people who've met at school before and are very good in the business. Siblings are quite good in business together, husband and wife. It's like being married, really, isn't it? So you have to know and work through difficult times together. Back to my businessy kind of question. Your first project, how did you know how to charge at the right kind of benchmark? And do you win all of your contracts? Do you know that you're charging enough money for what you do?
The first project, absolutely no idea.
No.
We didn't know how long it was going to take us. So we just kind of...
They almost said to us as well, you've spent too long on this, we need to pay you more.
I think because we had quite a friendly relationship with them, we kind of asked how much the other artist was charging, and then was like, okay, well, we won't charge that because we've never done this before, we haven't got the experience.
Yeah.
But now we've spoken with other artists, I suppose, and we don't get every job. Sometimes a lot of people don't expect it to be as high as what we charge.
Yeah.
I think we're very middle of the range.
Yeah, a lot of people do inquire with absolutely no idea of how much it will cost. A lot of people do literally email us back like, oh my God, I didn't know, I thought a couple £100 or something.
Which is almost discouraging for us, but we also understand that it's a different market and people don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very easy for us to think, oh, do we charge a bit less because we really want this?
Yeah. We are a little bit lenient on that.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It also depends how busy we are as well.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the time we try and gauge whether it's going to be a nightmare of a project or things like that. So if we're pretty sure it's going to be straightforward, we can be a little bit more lenient.
Yeah.
If we know the client might be a bit of a nightmare or things like that, then we stick to our guns a little bit more and
we go on vibes.
Pure vibes.
Next question, please.
You guys seem very positive, but what's one piece of advice you would give to other business owners to keep motivated if they're feeling a bit discouraged or something?
It can be so hard and it can be really discouraging, and we've definitely had our lows as well. And I think going back to kind of faking it till you make it is, we stick by that a lot of the time if we're quiet or if we are in a bit of a time where we're like, oh God.
Yeah, maybe just go back to the reason why you started doing it in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Try and get that passion back up to be more positive.
Are there any books or quotes that you kind of stick by? Or?
Not books for me.
I read books, but they're not business or creative related.
Change that, shouldn't Quotes. Has anyone else got any other quotes?
I feel like I've listened to so many good podcasts recently as well, but it clearly hasn't gone in, so it can't have been that important.
What podcasts do you listen to, by the way? Any that you could recommend?
I think business related.
Grace Beverley's one?
Yeah, she's a bit like Marmite. Some people like her, some people don't. That's called Working Hard, Hardly Working, but I think Diary of a CEO has got all sorts of people on. I quite like, I don't know what the podcast is called. Chris Williamson's name is?
Oh yeah, Modern Wisdom.
Yeah, Modern Wisdom. That's a great podcast. Just talking to all sorts of people from different backgrounds and different businesses. I think that's a great way to get insight into, they might not be relevant, but there are things that they say that are relevant. So
Confidence. I know earlier you did say that confidence, I think we can all relate to like that confidence is a thing that you'd have to constantly work on. Does it still, would you say now, like does confidence still affect you?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we've been trying to film like a YouTube video and we try and do voiceovers on TikTok and we're like, oh no, like we hear our own voices and we're like, no, I can't post it, I'm not posting that.
I feel like I'd have to do the voiceover and Kirsty would have to edit it or the other way
just
around.
Send it without.
Yeah, confidence is just something to work on, isn't it? I think you just have to do it and then like this is definitely out of our comfort zone, but
I think also not worrying about what people think a lot of the time, like do you, if it's what you want to do, you'll do it. So
Brilliant. Next question, please. Any more questions from our audience? Lady in the grey, please.
ESG and CSR are something that are really relevant in winning bids as well, I expect. Do you show that or do you contribute from that side at all with your business?
I don't know what.
Okay, so corporate social responsibility and environmental, social and governance. So it's when you're giving back to the local area, and I presume you get some bids with local authorities. So do you have to show that you're giving something back?
A lot of the time we will implement working with the community into that.
A lot of the time for us it's the cultural side of the project that they want to get the community involved in, like, and opinions and build the design up with them. I think that's what a lot of companies will do to try and...
Yeah, especially local authorities, they want to tick them boxes. But I think it's worth it, it's for good reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And you do that yourself as well, then? You do the research yourself?
Yeah, most of the time. Sometimes they come to us with, like, these are the important aspects of the area and this is what we want to include, and but a lot of the time we have done it ourselves as well, especially for proposals. We often do it, what route do we want to take? Do we want to go nature? Do we want to go cultural?
History.
Yeah. It is a bit of both. It's quite balanced.
I'd like to thank the two of you for coming to see us today. It's been really, really informative and really, really great to hear your story and your journey into the creative industries. And thanks for taking the time to answer the questions from our guests here today.
No, thank you for having us.
No,
we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, good fun.
Round of applause, please.